I would request Dr. Mujtaba Isani, who's a Dodd professor here at the SPIR.
Influential scholar Gabriel Ben Dor, who's a professor at the Tel Aviv University's Moshe Dayan Center, sees Israel's security as four concentric circles. So the most immediate circle is within Israel and Palestine. So that's the first major circle. The second circle then is Israel and neighboring countries. Concentric circle is Israel and the rest of the Islamic world. The implication for this for Pakistan is that as Israel expands the conflict in the Middle East, Pakistan would definitely be involved in some way or the other. So as the conflict expands, Pakistan's role and Pakistan would be more involved in the Israeli-Palestinian, or again, the Israeli-Arab conflict, however you want to term it. Before October 7th, of course, there were some overtures. There was great talk of the Abraham Accords. And again, for those of you, I was in Saudi Arabia when the talks between Saudi Arabia and Israel were taking place. And there were, of course, talks about Pakistan signing something with Israel or normalizing with Israel, or whether it does it before Saudi Arabia or after Saudi Arabia. And of course, there were some overtures made from the Pakistani side, backdoor. I know there was this very famed visit of Ahmed Qureshi and others that also with the Pakistani American Council, etc. But it was interesting to see some of the reaction on the Israeli side as well. And on the Israeli side, Israel was hesitant in actually deepening its ties with Pakistan. And that was because of its very, very close ties now with India. And again, this is some food for thought and discussion, hopefully at the end of this discussion, is that how willing would India be to, again, what we call balance Pakistan if something of a future, whatever kind of conflict occurs between Israel and Pakistan. But because Israel right now has very, very deep ties with India, and again, it's very hesitant in that sense to come to some terms with Pakistan. So the plan, according to my analysis of Israel, is that the idea of Israel right now is that it does, in the result of this conflict, again, there is this big, big discussion in Israel of reshaping the Middle East. And part of this reshape of the Middle East as things go contemporarily is that the expected thing is that Trump comes into power and then the Gaza ceasefire takes place with some involvement of Saudi Arabia and some normal. There's already some talk in Israeli media of Saudi Arabia being involved in the Gaza ceasefire and signing some sort of normalization agreement, although not a full Abraham Accord. And the result, I think, in sort of the ideal situation for Israel is that if Saudi Arabia signs something, it can sign downgraded agreements with other countries in the Islamic world, of which, of course, Pakistan would also be one of those countries. So it's interesting to see how, of course, the other side is thinking also with its relations with Pakistan. Again, this would, of course, be the broader scenario in which how Israel is seeing itself to deal with Pakistan. Now, the other thing about the Middle East conflict, I think Iran is a big question right now, as the other speakers had pointed out, that there is talk of war in Israel with Iran. And of course, again, Iran would also be preparing because, of course, they're not, they would know what the talks in Israel are going. And I think Iran has previously complained that maybe indirectly Pakistan is being used as a listening post against Iran. So I think there are concerns there. I think it's a big question as to what role Pakistan plays if there is a conflict. And I think we've already heard some of the speakers talk about this. But again, it is a very difficult question to answer. I think there will be a lot of pressures on Pakistan from all sides. And again, one thing is that I think previously Afghanistan shaped a lot of Pakistan-American ties, and I think it might be possible that in the future it is Iran that shapes Pakistani-American ties. And it's interesting how Pakistan will sort of strategize in that sense. I think generally, of course, this is some of sort of the future things. I think some of the things that I wanted to mention, people have already talked about, and I don't want to waste your time on that, especially with regard to, of course, Pakistani involvement currently in Syria. You have fighters on both sides, both on the Shiite side and the Sunni sides coming from Pakistan. So Pakistan, of course, remains involved in a lot of Middle Eastern conflict. But keep your eyes open, and I think in the future, especially how Saudi Arabia acts, in case of the Abraham Accords, what that has an implication on Pakistan. Of course, security-wise, as Dr. Jaspal also said, they always have an eye on whether Pakistan can produce weapons that can reach Israel. But of course, that's a bit far-fetched, but still, I think they would be worried about it, because it's that sort of what I began with, is that fourth concentric security circle, which they're always worried about. But of course, they will also be thinking about India to be able to help them with that. So thank you so much, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.